I want to bring in now Yodit Tewolde, who's a criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. So one of the things, Yodit, that really stood out to me, and Dan and I just talked about it a little bit, is the fact that the attorney brought out this journal, which we had heard about, which we were told was discovered before before detectives knew about these other women coming forward, and stood there and sort of read it. Dissect that a little bit for us. Is that a smart move, or could that come back to haunt him?
It's actually a very smart move. What he wants to do is get ahead of the prosecution, bringing this out as sort of a smoking gun. So the defense attorney is expecting this to be something of importance to the state, and so it's better that he sets up the narrative before the state does. So this is definitely a strategy. I think it was very smart to bring that up before the state does.
Is it unusual at all that we are learning so much about this? I mean, prior to, it's such an early stage?
It's actually not. Nowadays, cases are being tried in the court of public opinion, and I have a problem with that as a defense attorney, because not only do I have to defend my client in a court of law, but then also defend my client to society as a whole. I mean, the society, the court of public opinion has already convicted this individual, and so the opinions and the thoughts of people who are charged with a crime somehow infiltrates and will taint a jury pool once it actually does go to court. So nowadays, with social media and news, the 24-hours news cycle, I mean, it's not abnormal that we're getting so much information so early on.
Are things ever different when it is a case of sexual assault in terms of the way people interpret that information?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have crimes that just tug at the emotions of people, and sexual assault is a huge issue, especially now, considering what we're going through with the presidential campaign and candidates right now, with Donald Trump having all these videos coming forward about how he feels about women. And so it's a very sensitive issue. When you have a crime like this, people get into their own feelings instead of actually taking a look at the hardcore facts. We tend to make our decisions based on emotion early on, and that's a dangerous thing to do, especially when this defendant is only looking for a fair trial. And so hopefully he gets that in a court of law, and have people remove that emotion and those stigmas with these types of cases.
And there's a twofold need here. There is a need for a defendant in any case, and that is one of the strengths of the U.S. justice system, to be offered a fair trial, right, and that a person is innocent until proven guilty. And there is also
Correct.
a need for anyone who's been a victim of a crime, sexual or otherwise, to feel comfortable enough coming forward and not feel as if they're going to be victimized a second time. How do you balance those two?
You know, that's a very hard question to answer. Nowadays, you know, we do tend to blame victims. We ask a million questions as to why they never came forward, why now. We tend to assassinate their character and look into their past history, sexual history. There are laws that protect against that kind of behavior or treatment of our victims in the system. And then there are laws that protect defendants and their right to a fair trial. So this case so far being played out in the media is going to make it very hard for a fair trial, one, to happen in court, and two, not to look into the history of these victims, because as a defense attorney, we are going to look at any cracks at the credibility of these victims. Anything from conversations that they may have had. Did they continue to see the defendant after they thought that they were raped? And so that's going to be a very hard thing for the defendant to, or the victim to endure, but that's something that they're going to have to go through if they're going to take this all the way to trial.
And it is a story that, well, we will be watching. We will stay on this story. Yodit Tewolde, great to have you with us today. Appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.